Good evening, everybody, and welcome into a special presentation of Warchant TV, where we will be doing an interactive session with a very special member of the Florida State community, alongside the managing editor of Warchant.com, Ira Schafel. My name is Tom Lang. Ira, how's it going tonight, first of all? And secondly, I'll ask you, what a cool opportunity we have tonight to learn a little bit of something about the way Florida State is run. Athletic department, of course, it goes hand in hand with this from behind the scenes. This is going to be a pretty cool night.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Nobody knows more about what's going on at Florida State University or the athletics department than Peter Collins, who's the chair of the board of trustees. He took that position last summer. He was elected by the board to be the chair of the board. And yeah, it's a great opportunity. I mean, this is awesome that he's willing to do this and talk directly to the fans and to all the folks on Warchant. So we're really excited about it.
It certainly is our honor here at Warchant TV and Warchant.com. And as you see at the top of the screen, please, if you have not already, if this is the first time you're signing on to Warchant TV, like this video. It helps us find more Florida State fans and alum who are looking for Florida State news. And if you have not already, subscribe to our channel, because every time you log on to YouTube's homepage, if you subscribe to our channel, the latest from Warchant TV will be right there for you. So these are the kinds of things that we can do every time you support us, and we appreciate that support. So let's get to our guest tonight, Peter Collins. Let me introduce him a little bit. The many titles. I could go into a lot of business titles as well, but to say he's accomplished would be a huge understatement. He has served on the Florida State University Foundation Board of Trustees. For the College of Business, he has served on the Board of Governors and the Student Investment Fund Board. He was inducted into the FSU College of Business Alumni Hall of Fame last year in 2021. And most notably for tonight's purposes, he is the chair of the FSU Board of Trustees. With that comes a seat on the Seminole Boosters Executive Board as well. We welcome Peter Collins to Warchant TV for an interactive chat with everyone out there. Peter, welcome to the program tonight.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you, Tom. Good to see you, Ira.
Glad to have you, man.
I have a disclaimer. I see the color of my pullover on TV. It's not pink. It's garnet. I got a bad camera. I'm sorry, but it's garnet. For all of you ready to lambaste me, it's garnet, and at least it's not orange.
That's correct. You can wear red stuff that looks orange, and you wouldn't believe the comments. They get pretty hateful pretty fast. So, and that's the logo for the Seminole Golf Course, which is great too. But Peter, it's our pleasure to have you, and I know that Ira will be leading the way for a lot of discussions tonight. But we look forward to the next 45 minutes to an hour, and it should be a great time.
Yeah, we got some questions that people already posted on our message boards. There's the live chat that people can ask questions as well. But I want to ask you just one quick one real quick, just because, a lot of times when people think of Board of Trustees members or athletic directors or people in prominent positions, you kind of forget that they're also fans. And I know that, for example, when David Coburn was the athletic director before Michael Alford, he was, as passionate about Florida State athletics as anybody. I know you are as well. I was kind of curious, like, not to put your age out there, but when were you in school at Florida State? I know you got several degrees from Florida State, but when were you in school? What was your fan experience before you became a member of the Board of Trustees and all that?
So my fan experience actually happened in probably 1978, a couple years after Bobby Bowden had been hired. And my brothers and sisters were at Florida State. They were older than I was. And I remember my first memories of Florida State were playing underneath the bleachers in 1978, the end zone bleachers. The stadium obviously looks a lot different today, but my first memory are playing under the bleachers when I was a kid.
Wow. And it's a pretty good time frame to be a Florida State fan. If the sweet spot there, I mean, all different fans have different experiences. Some students, I think Tom was here in maybe a tougher period in the mid 2000s. But
that's a tough period.
You were definitely in the sweet spot right there.
That was the Chris Ricks era, right? Mid 2000s.
Yeah, and just after that too, I was here for the controversy, the legendary quarterback controversy of Drew Weatherford and Xavier Lee and Devontae Richardson. We did not win, Peter, a home rivalry game in my time as an undergrad at Florida State, just to make sure we won one, I guess.
Chris Ricks was the Gator killer, but he couldn't beat Miami to save his life. He never did.
No, but we're gonna cut Drew Weatherford some slack since he's on the board of trustees with you. So
Drew is, it's so great having him on the board of trustees with us. It's he's a phenomenal, very accomplished, and obviously bleeds garnet and gold, and he loves it. And Drew's a good buddy and really cares about Florida State deeply.
Awesome.
Peter, I'm curious.
One more thing. Can I say this, Tom?
Sure.
So I used to listen to the broadcasts of the games with Gene Deckerhoff and Vic Prinzi. I don't know if many of the members remember Vic Prinzi, but I would listen to them in the late 70s and early 80s. And I said this at my induction ceremony. I remember vividly sitting in my bedroom listening to the broadcast of the 1980 or 1981 road game against Nebraska, where we won 18-14. And I was a Seminole. It was I was a Seminole.
Wow.
Yeah, well, we all have those moments, and you know what? Gene Deckerhoff seems to be in the middle of a lot of those for a lot of Noles for decades.
I've never met him.
What is that right?
I got to meet him.
That's wild.
I would think as the chair of the board of trustees, he would take that meeting if you asked.
Maybe he probably was just like, that guy's not important.
So again, for everybody out there on YouTube, Facebook chat, and obviously the Warchant message boards, we've collected your questions from warchant.com. But if you have questions for Peter, we are going to bring them to his attention after Ira and I ask a few ourselves. I mean, what's a panel without having the opportunity to ask some questions ourselves to the head man at the board of trustees. But Peter, for those who might not be as fluent in how universities run, the structure of a university and how board of trustees might run alongside, parallel to, sometimes perpendicular with an athletic department. If you don't mind giving us a view of what your role is, and then how often you would interact with Michael Alford, the athletic director at Florida State. Is that something that you check in daily with him, once a week, monthly, quarterly? How does that look and work? Obviously, also, you have a seat on the chair of the Seminole Boosters Executive Committee as well. But I'm curious to hear how it all works.
First of all, I couldn't be happier that Michael Alford is our athletic director. I talk to Mike every day, either text or email or on the phone. We're talking every day, and he's just an unbelievably passionate advocate for our student athletes and an unbelievably passionate advocate for Florida State. So I talk to Michael Alford all the time, and we have made a lot of great strides at Florida State in the last decade, let's call it, in raising our ranking. But sports is what binds us as Seminoles, and all of our teams, from the football team to women's soccer that just won the national championship, to women's softball that just played for the national championship, to our baseball team, you name it, the golf team. Trey Jones, the golf coach, is a good friend of mine and is a passionate Seminole. Sports are what bind us as Seminoles. We care about our school. We want us to be highly ranked. We want our degree to mean something. But at the end of the day, sports is really one of those things that really binds us. And so we spend a lot of time on it. You guys obviously spend a lot of time on it. And I think I've been a member of Warchant for probably 20 years. I don't know. I don't post a lot. And I certainly don't post a lot now, and I hope no Warchant people release my screen name. But I've been a fan since I was a kid, and I'm a fan now, and it's only because really sports is what binds us together as Seminoles, I think.
Well, I'm not going to out you that your name is .com on the message board.
Yeah, Gene might take offense to that.
On that topic, though, I think, when you look at, and not to go into the history of ups and downs in the athletics department, but it seems like this is a unique time where you have, you were elected to the chair of the board of trustees last summer. President McCullough was hired, I think, right before that as the new president of the university. Michael Alford becomes the athletic director in January. And so it's like you have this kind of a fresh start, but kind of a new beginning, but also, carrying on the tradition of excellence that the program's had. So what does that do, having kind of a lot of people kind of in the same direction? And then, obviously football is what, stirs the drink for athletics across the country. Mike Norvell is kind of a newer head coach. So what does that do, having all of that kind of new energy at the same time?
I actually think it's really good. First of all, from a personality standpoint, Coach Norvell's great. He and Mike Alford have a great relationship. He and the president have a great relationship. I have a good relationship, really good relationship with Coach Norvell. And as many people on Warchant know, that hasn't always been the case between the boosters and the athletic department and the administration. The relationship hasn't always been the best. And I think President Thrasher did a lot, and Ed Burr, who was the board chair before me, did a lot to fix that issue. But it really comes down to the personalities. And I think the alignment is fantastic right now. And I think we're all on the same page. As I said in my comments that you guys did on Warchant, everybody has a passion for excellence. President McCullough has a passion for excellence. Mike Alford has a passion for excellence. Certainly Coach Norvell has a passion for excellence, and so do I. And so that's where we start. Okay, if our desire is excellence, how do we get there? And I think you've seen some steps in the last few months since President McCullough's come on and Mike Alford's come on to get us moving in that direction. There's no doubt. David Coburn's one of my dear friends, and I think the world of him. And people don't know the Herculean effort that he made to make sure that we didn't go into a bunch of debt or didn't have to shut down programs during COVID like a lot of other universities did. But that's behind us now, and we need to move forward, and we're all on the same page.
So let's go. We'll bring on the interactive format here a little bit, and we'll go to the warchant.com message boards. Ira, we got to take care of the message board folk and the members first, just as Peter Collins is. We have so many others at warchant.com. And we'll get into the NIL first. Here, Captain D63, got to love the handles. With NIL legislation in Florida causing some hurdles for Florida State University, what does the Board of Trustees propose that can help catch FSU up in the NIL world? Peter, you know it. I mean, this has been the topic. Outside of the transfer portal and day-to-day ops, NIL has been the topic in college football. So how does the Board of Trustees view NIL, and how does it think that maybe it can help Florida State close the gap between itself and some other universities in the country?
Yeah, the crazy thing is the NCAA spent decades trying to keep the boosters and fans and people from paying players. And then overnight, almost, it seemed that it was fine to pay players. And then everybody was having to catch up with, okay, well, how do you do that? And then you go from state to state, and different states have different laws. Florida has a different law. Florida actually was on the forefront of allowing NIL. And it was great, but it kept the university or arms of the university from quote facilitating NIL. And so, if you look at other states now, they're removing those handcuffs. And there's a bill, as you guys probably know and probably have reported on in the legislature, being sponsored by Representative LaMarca, about allowing the universities to do this. It's not to say that the universities are going to pay players, because the universities are not, but the universities can help facilitate that. And it's not just the payment. There's so many of these student athletes out there that want, that hear this and they think, and they hear that they can make money off their name, image, and likeness, but they have no clue what that means. I mean, these are 17 and 18-year-old kids that are coming to FSU. They've never looked at a contract. They don't know what the responsibilities under a contract are. We should give them legal help. We should give them counseling on how to do these. But at the same time, we have to be competitive. And you've seen other universities come out and, we've all heard the stories. Such and such is paying $50,000 a play, guaranteeing $50,000 for every offensive lineman or whatever it is. Yeah. But we have a responsibility to do the right thing by the student athletes, and that's what we're focused on. We're certainly focused on being competitive. We're certainly focused on doing what we need to do to be competitive in NIL. I think it would shock a lot of your viewers or members to realize how active the NIL aspect was, even in this last recruiting class. I know we lost some players, and there was a lot of people out there that said, oh, we just didn't step up. I would beg to differ, and I would say that we did step up. Now, did some other universities step up more? Sure. And is some of that a consequence of our state law of not being able to get involved? Somewhat, but again, it's brand new, and we're trying to find our footing in that, and we're working unbelievably hard on it. I can't say that the Board of Trustees is 100% focused on that, but the boosters are certainly focused on that. Mike Alford is focused on that. And there's a group that is spun off from the boosters that are focusing on that. So NIL is, it's the Wild West right now. NCAA doesn't have any rules on it. The state statutes, there's not a lot of rules or penalties or things like that. And so everybody's finding their way. I know it's easy to say, well, such and such is paying them $500,000. Why aren't we doing this? And I hate to sound like, I hate to say that, well, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but it is a little bit more complicated than that sometimes.
I wanted to follow up on that actually, because that was one of my questions I wanted to ask you, because you made the comment when we talked at Michael Alford's introduction ceremony that, before you got involved, before you joined boards, before you joined the alumni board, the booster board, or the alumni foundation, you sometimes as a fan, you just want what's best for the university. And when you feel like it's not there or it's not happening quick enough, you just get frustrated. But I think you said that, once you got involved, you started to learn more, and it's not always exactly what it seems. And sometimes there's more to it. What advice would you give fans who maybe don't have the information you have, to kind of deal with those emotions? Because you know what it was like.
Well, again, it comes from a passion for the university, and I totally get that because I have a passion for the university. And so everybody's passionate, and why can't we do this? And how come we're not doing that? And we need to do more of this, and we need to do this quicker. I get all of that because I run through those same emotions every day. But I would say that there's a lot of really good people working really hard on a lot of this stuff. There's friends of mine that are very active in NIL. They're trying to put deals together for some of these student athletes. They're trying to figure out how to do some of these deals for student athletes. Remember, this is brand new. So when you go to, let's say, somebody that wants to sponsor an NIL deal, they don't know how it works. The student athlete doesn't know how it works. The person trying to facilitate it is trying to figure out how it works. And it's almost as if we get to a really good NIL deal quickly, sometimes we're just fortunate. It's not because everybody knew what they were doing, because most of the people didn't know what they were doing, but it just worked out. So I would say to the fans out there, every member of the Board of Trustees wants us to be excellent, both in the classroom, but on the field, and whatever field it is. We want excellence, and we're pushing for excellence every day. I probably go on Warchant too much. I'm still a fan, and I see the comments, and why isn't the administration doing this, and when are they going to do that? And it's like, look, we're working hard on it. There's no grass growing underneath our feet. We're moving.
Peter, you've got extensive experience over the course of your career. You've worked on campaigns, you've worked on pensions, private sector. Obviously, now you're giving back to the university here at Florida State. Fundraising is something you've been quite good at for a long time. But would it be an oversimplification to say that the solution here to this particular issue, NIL, is just simply to raise more funds? Or is that the lifeblood of how Florida State can get from where it is now to the next step that it wants to go to as a university and as an athletic department?
So, that's a great question. And I'll address this, and I'm probably get in trouble for addressing this, but when we saw the recruit we lost, we're working on our football only facility, and we're going to stick a shovel in the ground. I think I said this in my interview with you, Ira. We're going to stick a shovel in the ground on the football only facility sooner rather than later. and it's important for people to remember, everybody's frustrated that it's taking so long. This first started under Jimbo, the discussion and the need, and us staying ahead of the curve on facilities. Well, then Jimbo left, and then it got put on hold. And then we hired Coach Taggart, and then we started it back up, and then we fired Coach Taggart, and then it got put on hold. And then we hired Coach I'm right. Telling everybody everything, but it's not like that we don't want to do it or we haven't been working on it. We do want to do it. But at the same time, we're going to spend $85 million, $80 million on a football only facility. And we just lost a recruit to a team that doesn't even have a weight room. So the question is, do you spend money on NIL or do you spend money on facilities? And I think when the answer to that, to me, is if you're Florida State, you spend money on both. You get the football only facility done, you get the stadium renovation done, and you have a very comprehensive and aggressive NIL program. So we're trying to do it all, and we are going to do it all. As I said in my interview with you, Ira, I don't think we're going to surprise people, because I think people think we should have done the football only facility 3 years ago. And as a fan, I would agree. But, stepping back and looking at it, you realize, well, there's more involved. But we're going to stick a shovel in the ground sooner than people think. We're already working on it. We've got the architects working on it. We've got the GCs working on it. We've got the bonding side of it we're working on. And so everybody is working very hard on that, but at the same time working on NIL.
So many of you out there, Warchant subscribers, your questions have already been answered by Peter Collins, because a lot of these questions bleed into one another. But I do want to ask a question or echo one from Gator 188, who asks, "Good evening. Thank you for doing this for Florida State fans, Peter. How is the search coming for the president?"
Gator, first of all, Gator 188.
So
that's Gator Kirk. He is a person that is known as one of the biggest Noles fans. If it is the one I'm thinking of, he's in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, there's a story there. He's a Nole.
Okay,
we'll go to bat.
Terrible name for a Nole, but okay.
Yeah, Gator Kirk is his name. How is the search coming for the president of the Seminole Boosters, and go Noles, says Gator?
So it's a great question. As everybody knows, when we hired Mike Alford, we created a vacancy, and Mike had done such an unbelievable job of, we had for almost 4 decades the same head of the boosters, and Andy Miller, who is a good friend of mine, and I think the world of him and what he did. But it was the same organization for 40 years, and Mike came in and breathed fresh life into the booster program, and what he did was incredible. And when we hired him as athletic director, creating that void, we're going to do a search, but we're currently looking at, for the first time in 4 decades, we've had somebody that was head of the boosters, and now they're the athletic director. So my comment to Mike Alford when he got the job is, I said, "Okay, Mr. Athletic Director, now that you're athletic director, what do you think is under the purview of the athletic department, and what do you think is under the purview of the boosters?" Right? And so he sort of gave me a wry smile, like Mike does, and he said, "Well, I'll get back to you on that." And so we are going to do a search. It's going to be a nationwide search for a new president of the boosters, but we have to tell them exactly what's in their portfolio. And we're in the process, and the booster board is in the process with Mike of working out if there's going to be some changes in there.
We've got a question from the social media sphere. Actually, it's the chat here tonight. Eric Angel, a frequenter of Warchant TV, asks, "Hey there, Tom, Ira, and Peter. My question is about Doak renovations. Is there still a green light for Doak Campbell renovations, practice fields, and new facilities also?" You've kind of touched on the football-only facility, but any light on Doak Campbell's renovations, Peter?
Yeah, I don't know if you I know Warchant has put some pictures of the renderings up, and Mike Alford has been in when he was head of the boosters, has been in the sales process and meeting with season, whether it's skybox owners or regular ticket holders, meeting with donors and asking them what they want, and did a listening campaign, which is how the design came out. I think we have 8 founders boxes. I think all 8 founders boxes are now accounted for in terms of who's going to buy them. And now they've moved on to the next phase, which is the loge seating, and then they'll move on to the field boxes. But that effort is going on. We're going to do it. You have to. If you look at the revenue that we're bringing in, let's say that we only have, 40,000 fans, for example. Let's say that we have 40,000 fans. We basically have 3 ticket choices. We have the Champions Club, we have the skyboxes, and we have the stadium. We haven't raised ticket prices in the stadium in a long time. The Champions Club has been a challenge. The boxes don't change over that much. But we got 3 points of sale, and Mike Alford is he's been at the Cowboys, he's been at a lot of other places, and he would tell you that you need 12 points of sale. You need lots of different packages, and so we're in that design/selling phase and trying to feel out how people feel about the different options. But it's going very well. Like I said, we sold out all the founders boxes. We're selling out the loge boxes, and then we'll move to the field boxes. But we are absolutely going to do the stadium renovation. We have to be competitive. We have to raise revenue. And it's the future of football. We're going to shrink the stadium in terms of number of people there, but we're going to increase the revenue pretty dramatically.
And just, I want to clarify one thing for some of the fans who sometimes you get confused. We write stories about the football facility, we wrote stories about Doak and the renovations, and then there was the money from Blueprint the FSU's getting from the city of Tallahassee and Leon County, and there's been a perception, I think, that the renovations that Peter's talking about are related to that, whether it's $10 or $20 million that FSU is going to be getting from the city and county. That's not. It's a totally different project. That is to fix the infrastructure of the stadium. There's a lot of things underneath the stadium that are dilapidated, cracking, just the foundation and some ADA issues and things like that. So there's 2 separate things there in terms of Doak Campbell Stadium. And this is what Peter's talking about, is how the inside of the stadium, renovating that, what it looks like. And then that money that they're trying to get from the city and county is a separate thing. I just want to clarify that for some people who may conflate the two.
I appreciate you bringing that up. Blueprint and the people involved in Blueprint and the people on the committee, have been tremendous supporters of Florida State. Florida State is a major economic driver for Tallahassee. I don't think I'm saying anything that anybody would disagree with there. And if you're going to invest in something for the long-term future of Tallahassee, Florida State's a pretty good investment. Just like FAMU. People forget that Blueprint put $10 million into FAMU Stadium. So but you make a good point, Ira. This money is going for infrastructure improvements. This is not going to luxury boxes. And that's just, it's unfortunate that there's a lot of misinformation being put out there about that, but it's a lot easier to attack this by saying, oh, well, they're spending this money on, sky boxes for rich people. That money will not go to that.
If you're just joining us, we have Peter Collins here. He is the chair of the FSU Board of Trustees, and he is a Nole through and through. So if you're just joining us, you can put comments in the YouTube chat, or if you're on Facebook Live, submit your questions for Peter Collins right now, because you have a chance to talk to somebody who is highly involved in where Florida State is right now and where they're going to go in the future. So Peter, I guess let me ask one follow-up question about those projects for creating maybe 12 points of ticket sales for Doak Campbell, as well as the project for the football-only facility. Are these going to be parallel projects in terms of completion and the beginning of the work, or is it football-only facility is prioritized to be started and completed first, followed by the stadium? How does the Board of Trustees see these projects developing, parallel or sequentially?
I'd love them to be parallel, but the facts are that we're way ahead on the football-only facility from a planning, from a design, from a being able, just the whole process. We're way ahead on the football-only facility than we are on the football stadium. the football stadium, I give Mike Alford all the credit in the world on this. He's the one that came in and said, look, what are we doing here? He's a big fan. He's like, what are we doing? He's like, what are we doing here? We need to create more points of sale. We need to do this and this and this. So we've been talking about the football only facility, like I said, going back to Jimbo. So we're way down the road on that in terms of being able to put a shovel in the ground. And we're still in the planning stages on the stadium. So as much as I'd like them to be parallel, they're going to be sequential, and the football only facility will be first.
Tom, can I ask a question before you go to some more of the chat questions?
Absolutely.
So we've heard news out of the football staff in the last couple of weeks. There were 2 new additions to the football staff last week, Corey Fuller and Kewan Ratliff joining off-field roles. And then there's news that FSU hasn't officially announced it. There's going to be another staff member involved in the recruiting process and roster management. It seems like, Florida State's trying to catch up with the Joneses in terms of football staff. And Mike Alford, in the article I wrote last week, he talked about that, that's a priority. How far does Florida State need to go to catch up to some of these other schools? And is that even realistic when you consider, the TV payouts and the disparity in what FSU can bring in compared to maybe some of these SEC schools?
So that's a great question. First of all, I would like to say that if anybody, and if any of your members that are watching this are also boosters, we need everybody to give, right? We need everybody to be a booster. We need everybody to be involved. It's just a fact of life. It takes money to do all of this. And whether you give $70 or $7,000 or $70,000, it doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't matter. We need a lot more $70 donors. The $70,000 donors are great, but we need $70 donors. So, we need to do all of that. And so the money that we're talking about investing, we're raising a lot of it from boosters, and we're going to finance some of it. Interest rates are still historically low, so we're going to finance some of it. But we need more donors. We need a bigger base. I think Mike tells a story where, at our height, we probably had 13,000 annual donors. And then when we got down to a low, it was probably right at around 9,000. So we lost 4,000 donors. So if you think at our height is 13,000, you look at our alumni, we're raising money from a fraction of our alumni. And I think that that's where we're doing a poor job, and really where Mike focused on increasing that annual fund and increasing the smaller donors. Smaller donors are a lifeblood to anything. And so I would just encourage everybody to give. You don't have to be, $1 million donor to matter. You could be a $70 donor and really matter to the program. So I don't know if I answered your question, Ira, but
right. Because right. I mean, I think there's a feeling, going back to the fans' frustration sometimes, is when they see, newspaper articles or breakdowns of what schools in different conferences are getting, and they look at Florida State's payout from the ACC and they say, okay, well, how can we keep up? And I know that one positive thing was the ACC network. Now they do have to deal with Comcast. I can actually watch ACC
finally
in my house.
Finally. Yeah.
I'm sure there were some phone calls during the process.
A lot of phone calls.
But I guess that is the way. Making up the difference has to come from the boosters. And then also, I guess what you were talking about, raising what Mike Alford wants to do, generating more revenue from the football stadium, could be a piece of it. Also, it's got to come from a lot of different places, I assume.
It's got to come from a lot of different places. And, I see the posts, and I was probably one of those guys posting about our grant of rights deal and some of those other deals a while ago. And I'm not going to talk about that. What I would say is it is what it is. And we can either accept it and say, oh, well, this is our lot in life because, this is our deal, or we can find another way. And we're all about finding another way right now. I think that college football in general is still trying to figure out its future. We talk about the conference realignments, and we talk about, what the SEC is doing, and then we talk about the alliance and all that stuff. It's fine. To my mind, some of that is just noise. We got to do what we can control. We can't control what all the athletic directors in the country are going to vote on. We can't control what the SEC or the people out west are going to do, or the Big Ten are going to do. We can only control what we can control at Florida State. And people forget, we were the juggernaut in college football. Let's forget about all of athletics, but college football for a long, long time. And we were way ahead of the curve on the Seminole boosters. State colleges just didn't raise a lot of money in their booster program. And so I don't want to say we've lost our way, but we sat on our laurels for a little while. But we need to become the juggernaut again. There's a few schools out there that have become juggernauts. And if it's just tied to right now winning on the field, you're never going to build a good program long-term on that. You have to have people that are invested, not just the coaches, not just the players, but the fans that are invested in that success. And it's up to us to make sure that they know that the board is invested in that, the athletic director is invested in that, the coaches are invested in that, and we need them to be invested in that. So many times people say, well, I got to see this before I'm going to do this. I've got to see this before I'm going to do that. If everybody felt like that, the contributions would dry up tomorrow, and then where would you be? So you have to say, instead of, I got to see this before I do this, you got to say, I'm going to do this, and we're going to see this. And that's the way you got to look at it.
To that end, that's a great segue, Peter. Spartan Noles 71 says, Mr. Collins, who or what department handles creating scholarships and works with people who want to explore creating one? Mahalo.
Great question. Spartan Noles 71. That's a booster issue. And you would go to the boosters, and you would go to whoever the gift officer is in your area about creating a scholarship. We need more of that. One of the biggest expenses we have in the athletic department is is tuition. And it costs a lot of money. We got 85 student athletes on scholarship in the football program. And everybody knows tuition is, even though it's still very reasonable in terms of other states, it's still expensive, and the football team has to pay for that. And so I would say reach out to the boosters and to get involved, or to start contributing to a scholarship. You can contribute just as easily to the annual fund, because contributions to the annual fund go to help a lot of things. But if you would like to create a scholarship, it's money well spent for these athletes.
Yeah, just follow up on that real quick, Tom. Yeah, and there's a bunch of it's like going to a restaurant. Florida State's got a wide menu of things you can do. You can donate to a particular scholarship. They have different ones that are endowed for different people. They also have clubs. Each team has their own club, coaches clubs. So if you really want your money to go to basketball or women's basketball or golf, you can actually sign up and give money directly to their team, and that money will go to that. So there's a bunch of different options. But yeah, if you start with the booster office, they'll definitely point you in the right direction.
That's a great point, Ira, on the coaches clubs. That's a powerful tool for coaches. There's a lot of people that want to give to certain programs. They could care less about football, or they could care less about baseball, or maybe they don't care about women's softball. They want to give their money to, say, the golf program. And they can directly give that money, and it goes into the golf program. And since we started those coaches clubs, or since the boosters started those coaches clubs, we've raised millions of dollars. Maybe those are extra dollars. Maybe some of that would have gone to the boosters anyway and then gotten filtered through. But I think that it's been entirely additive to the athletic department budget. You'd be surprised. I think the basketball team's coaches club is probably number one, but golf is number two. It's the number two coaches club. I think Trey Jones, our golf coach, probably raises about close to $700,000 a year through the coaches club.
Wow.
And, that moves the needle in golf. You could give $50,000 to the football program and you might buy lunch for a couple weeks. You give $50,000 to the golf program, it moves the needle. And same thing with women's softball and women's soccer. It's unbelievable what you can do by directing those dollars. So you don't just have to give it to the boosters and have the boosters distributed. If you want to pinpoint your investment, you can do that.
We have a little bit of closure here, Peter. Gator Kirk has chimed in from his moniker on YouTube, and he says, I'm going to bite the bullet and become a booster, even though Mr. Collins does not like my name. So that's got a good ending to that story, Gator Kirk. Trey Jones is also a friend of mine, Peter, and he is relentless when it comes to fundraising. I did want to pivot to one other sport very quickly. We had a question from Daryl. I can't find the comment, but the gist of the question is, are there any long-term plans for Hauser? Obviously, there's been a scoreboard in recent years been installed. I saw the padding in the outfield is something that the FSU baseball account tweeted out earlier this week. But are there any long-term plans for a brand new baseball facility, renovations to Hauser? Where does the baseball program fit in the trustees' eye?
It's a great question. One of my goals as chair is to get our trustees to see different things on campus. Most of the time we come for our board of trustees meetings and we sit in the Turnbull Center and we have our meeting and we have a dinner and we go home. And so I cut out our committee day and now we're doing committee meetings via Zoom and everybody's coming in, and instead of the time that we would spend in our committee meetings, we're going on campus and we're actually seeing and touching things. And I want them to go to a residence hall that needs renovation. I want them to go to a residence hall that just was recently renovated. Same with a building. Hauser is on our list as one of the places to see next, because people look at Hauser and they think, oh, well, it's relatively new. It's not. The underpinnings of Hauser are similar to the underpinnings of Doak Campbell Stadium. It needs a lot of work. The facility needs a lot of work. When you go there from a fan experience, if you're just walking and sitting in your seat and looking at the field, yeah, great. If you're a player or if you're underneath the facility or inside the underneath the facility, you go, wow, this needs some work. So it's a priority. It's on the list and we're going to do it. And the board of trustees is going to go see it and see why it's important.
Another question from Get Down or Lay Down here on YouTube, who is asking, is the board getting pressure from local businesses about agreeing to more home and home series over neutral site exchanges?
No, I would say the board is not. Somebody probably is, but the board is not. Nobody's called me about it.
And not to interrupt you, but they that's kind of the direction the university is going towards, that direction of not having as many neutral site games. Is the plan, not to interrupt you, but the neutral, every dollar is so important that we used to go to a neutral site. I've been to lots of games in Orlando. I've been to lots of neutral site games in Jacksonville and other places when we would move our games there. And it was great because there was a lot of Seminoles and we were moving things around, but money wasn't as important to us back then as it is today. And so it's important for us to pack Doak. It's important for us to have all that revenue coming in and for the community to have that revenue. So you're going to see less and less of that from us. Now we do next year, we have LSU and it's at a neutral location. It's in New Orleans. Okay. It's going to be a great game and a great location. That's fine. And because of how we're structuring it, we're making money off of it. Would we make as much as if we had, Notre Dame at Doak Campbell like we did at the beginning of the year? No, but some of that stuff is important to still do, but we're going to do less of that.
We have another question from the boards at warchant.com. And again, we're joined by Peter Collins, the chair of Florida State's Board of Trustees. And he's a member of Warchant.com. So if you're not yet, what are you waiting for? And be sure to like and subscribe to this video and to our channel.
I'm going to look up here and see how long. I'm going to see my screen name and see how long I've been a member, but it's been a long time.
Well, while you're doing that, I just want to remind people that joined us late. Peter is wearing a lovely garnet.
Yeah, it's not pink. It's got the golf course logo on it. It's not pink. It's just my poor lighting. I'm sorry.
So remember, Lake Jackson Birdman. I don't think that we can eliminate Peter Collins' screen name, by these people who are submitting questions, unless he's just playing the burner game. But what is the Board of Trustees doing to maintain a mutually beneficial and strong relationship with the Seminole Tribe of Florida? Are there better opportunities to highlight this relationship?
Well, I'll answer the second part of that first. Absolutely. We can always find better opportunities to highlight the relationship. It's a relationship that it's important for us not to be complacent with. And it's a relationship that is, because it's a relationship that's very meaningful to us, maybe the most meaningful relationship, external relationship that we have as a university. We do a lot with the Seminole Tribe. We seek their input quite a bit on many topics. I think our relationship today is as strong as it's ever been. I still encounter people that say, well, you guys are going to lose the Seminole name because, everybody's losing their name. And by the way, what is it? The Washington Commanders? Not that I don't agree that we shouldn't have gotten rid of the Redskins name, right. But the Commanders, that's a terrible name. Cause I'm a Cowboys fan. So I'm probably losing some fans on Warchant, but I give my best friend from college who is a Washington Redskin fan. And now he's even shaking his head on the Commanders. Anyway, I think that it's a relationship that it's important to us. It's important for us to do the right thing by that relationship. And I think we work really, really hard on doing the right thing by that relationship. And, but we can always work to improve it.
Yeah. One more thing on the Commanders. How about those uniforms, Peter? I mean, they just downgrade the quality of those uniforms, went from NFL to bad college, all in one move. It's pretty nasty.
One of the questions I saw in the chat, I wanted to mention that I don't know if Tom's going to bring it up yet or not. It was about adding sports, and I know when President Thrasher, was serving his tenure, he kind of had an idea of maybe at some point adding lacrosse as a sport, because I think he's got some grandkids that play it, and I know that's something that there's been an interest in that. But I know there's Title IX's a factor, there's cost is a factor. Could you just does that ever bubble up to your guys' level, and
Sure.
What are some of the complexities there?
Sure. You have again, this goes back to the donors. We need to raise more money to do more sports. I think all of us would like to see lacrosse. I think with the success of our women's soccer team, people would like to see men's soccer. I would personally like to see men's soccer. And I would like to see lacrosse, but it's a zero-sum game, right? Unless you raise more money, you've got to take the money from somebody else to be able to do that. And so we need more boosters. We need more contributors to these to make these things happen. But I'd like to see us increase our sports additional sports dramatically.
Once again, we're with Peter Collins, the chair of the FSU Board of Trustees, and we've got about
I'm drinking coffee, by the way.
Okay. Well, we have the Warchant Happy Hour. If you ever want to stop by, we have a Warchant Happy Hour program that you're most welcome to in case you wanted something different than a cup of coffee. But I wanted to ask you quickly about your background, Peter, if that's all right. I saw the video when you were inducted into the FSU College of Business Hall of Fame, and you spoke about an experience where you're working with a capital group, and you're on the brink of hearing some news about an expansion into your family. But you had an idea about investing into real estate, and you had a thesis that you submitted to your partners, and your partners didn't go for it. So you said, okay, I'm going to go in my own direction. Then you realized that you were going to have one more mouth to feed in your house, in your home, and you still went and pressed ahead to do that. The reason I'm asking this question is because when it comes to fundraising and sticking to a plan in tough times, and Florida State University in the grand scheme of athletic success, especially on the football field, it's in a tougher place than it's been in a while. What kind of attitude do you need to have? What kind of attitude do you need to see from your fellow trustees, the athletic department, and folks that are a part of the booster community in order to get you from a place where it feels like it might be a risk to a place where like you've arrived on the other side of a tough period in your career or your life, or in this case, an athletic program's existence?
You know, that was one of the biggest decision points in my life, Tom, and I appreciate bringing that up. And just for the people that are watching this, I wanted to start my own business. I had a great job. I wanted to start my own business, and I worked hard on the plan and came home, and I was telling my wife that, you know, hey, we're going to live off savings for about a year and a half. I'm not really sure how this is going to go. And, you know, but I really feel passionate about this. And she started crying. And I said, well, wow, I'm kind of excited about this. Why are you crying? She said, well, I'm pregnant. And that's when I found out we were having our fourth child. But your question is a great question. If you're passionate about something, and if you're, whether it's Florida State or anything else, you have to do everything that you can to try to make that whatever it is that you're passionate about happen. And I see so many posts either on Warchant, or I talk to people every day. You know, I get RAM calls every day from alumni. They get my number from somewhere. I don't know where they get it, but they call me, and, you know, they're complaining about something, or they want us to do something, or they're telling me they're not going to support something until such and such happens. And, you know, my challenge to them is, look, if everybody felt that way, we would never get anywhere. You have to believe in you have to help fulfill your passion. And for all those people out there that are wondering whether they should do something, or whether they should give, or whether they should get involved, sometimes I don't care if you get involved, help raise money from other people. There's people that have different gifts, but there's no denying at the end of the day, money makes this work. Without money, it doesn't work. So we have to raise the money. And for people that sit on the sidelines and waiting for us to win national championships before they get involved, you know, it's just not, we're not going to get there that way.
You mentioned earlier your confidence in Mike Norvell.
Yeah.
And you've got to spend more time.
What a great guy. What a great guy.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. For the fans who come into the stadium on Saturday and see the final score, or, you know, see that something's not going the way they hoped in recruiting or whatever else, but they don't get to interact with Mike Norvell the way you do. Like, what are some of the reasons when you've talked to him, the relationship you have, that you're like, okay, this is the guy, we need to get behind this guy, and he's going to get us where we want to go?
Couple things. First, when we were talking about, and you alluded to this, Ira, when we were talking about putting more money into the support staff and putting more money into the coaches, and we have in the last few months, we've put significant millions more dollars into that. And I don't want to badmouth Jimbo, but it's so easy, so I'm going to.
Hey, we're here for it.
Yeah. So, you know, Jimbo wanted us to spend more money than anybody was spending. And that was the only, you know, he's like, if you want to be successful, we have to spend the most. The difference is Mike Norvell says, I don't need to be number one. I don't need to be number 5. I need to be top 10. I need to be able to be competitive, and I'll win the day as long as we're competitive. If I can't be competitive, then if I can't compete, then what am I doing here? Yeah. So that's the biggest difference between Mike Norvell and some other coaches. And second of all, I went to the Boston College game this year. We did an away trustee game, and I was sitting with Coach Norvell's wife, Maria. You talk about somebody that's wrapped up into success on the football field. It was Maria Norvell. And she has a passion for it. And it was really fun to see. And, if she's that passionate, he's got to be 8 times that passionate. And it's rubbing off. Right. And she's living and dying with every play. And it was something great to see. And I talked to Coach Norvell before that game. After that game, I was in the locker room after we won the Miami game, and his passion is palpable, and you can feel that passion. And but at the same time, he's like, look, I don't need all the money. I need enough to be competitive. And I love that about him.
If there are some things that you would list, Peter, as things that would help get Florida State beyond money, maybe some things about infrastructure or the facility itself that's coming, the football only facility, are there things that you think could help bridge the gap quickly between where Florida State is now and to get to that place where Mike Norvell, all he needs is to get to the table and he'll do the rest? Are there some things that maybe you have prioritized, the Board of Trustees has prioritized, other than the things that maybe we've discussed tonight? Is there something maybe that the fan base or the media community doesn't know about, that it takes to be in that conversation like Mike Norvell wants to be?
I think the biggest thing is the money for the support staff. It's clear. I mean, if you saw Coach Napier's press conference, they're not going to hire 40 people, but they're going to hire a lot of people on the support staff side. And I'm a big believer, if you want to accomplish something, somebody has to be in charge of it. And if you want to accomplish a lot of things, you need a lot of people to be in charge of those things. And so we're committed to doing that. And we're committed to having that infrastructure and having that support system. I think that there's a lot of people out there that think, such and such is just going to lap us and all that. They don't know the commitment that we have to that. Ira, you know a little bit about that. You've seen some of the job postings. You've seen some of the new people coming on. We're committed to it. And so I don't know that there's a lot of things out there that Warchant doesn't know. Ira and .com and Tom, you all, and Aslan, you guys do a great job. Obviously. So there's not a lot of things that the Warchant community doesn't know. But I would tell you that when they tell you that we're doing this, there's a lot of commitment behind it, and there's a lot of determination behind it, and we'll get it done. I know that people have been talking about doing things for a long time, and we got to show you, but we're working hard on it, and we're going to show you in pretty short order, I think, on some of this stuff.
Awesome.
We appreciate it, Peter. Ira, I'll give you the last word here. Obviously, if you've got anything before our time with Peter is up for this particular evening.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I was just going to kind of follow up, just kind of give you the stage one last time to, you've already made your impassioned plea a few times, Peter, to for people to step up and support FSU athletics and FSU as a entity. But I just want to give you the floor one last time. Really appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's been a pleasure, and I think it's been informative. But I just want to give you one last chance to, make your case for people stepping up.
Well, first of all, I appreciate the invite. It's a little surreal, like I said, having been a member of Warchant for a long, long time, and now I'm sitting here doing a video call. But I think that the Board of Trustees is 100% behind the president, and the president is 100% behind the athletic director, and the athletic director is 100% behind the coaches. And that's an incredible. You need that. It's a great alignment, but it's a necessity. It's a necessary alignment, and it's sort of like a must-have. And we haven't always had that, but we have that now. And I would challenge the fan base out there to do the same thing. There has to be an alignment between the university and the fan base. And that alignment is support. And that support doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be $70,000. It could be $70 with enough people contributing $70. And so, again, I would challenge those people out there that are posting, Mike Norvell is going to have to win 8 games before I start contributing. Okay, well, that's like saying, well, my kid's going to have to walk before I feed him. Well, it's like, it's not going to happen.
I actually did that.
Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't, one doesn't, necessarily turn into the other. So I think that it costs a lot of money to do this. And have there been, I don't want to say that there's been some missteps made in the past, but with the benefit of hindsight, we would have done some things differently. But the other thing I would challenge your viewers and your members is that those things that were done in the past, you can't blame this administration. We got a brand new president, we got a brand new board chair, we got a brand new athletic director, and bashing us over the head because when is the administration going to do this? Well, we're working on it. We hear you, and it's not that we're taking our direction from Warchant, but we're taking our direction as Seminoles. Everyone member of the board of trustees is a Nole. They're passionate about the Noles. Mike Alford's passionate about the Noles. President McCullough is passionate about the Noles. He's passionate about sports. It's not something you would necessarily think of. I mean, he came from Carnegie Mellon and Harvard, but he's a giant sports fan, and he wants us to be excellent in everything. And so, we need the fan support, and we need the fans' help to get there.
Seeing a lot of questions before we let you go, Peter, but
go ahead.
Basic answers.
I got about 10 more minutes if you need to.
All right. For informational purposes, we'll ask you just a couple of quick ones. How do we donate money from Mike Bainter? How do we donate money as a huge fan? So many of us, they want to donate money towards the NIL. So that would be the Apex or.
Well, but they can't really the university can't really be involved in that right now.
Correct. So you would direct them somewhere else, correctly? Is it?
Well, they have to.
I can't direct them. I can't direct them somewhere, but there are groups out there that are doing this, and Ira probably knows who they are. And talk to Ira.
Yeah, Rising Spear is the organization that's not affiliated directly with Florida State that can help. You can donate to them. They have a website. You can donate to them, or honestly, NIL deals can just be put together. And right now, until the state of Florida changes their rules, you actually work directly with the athletes or their representatives. Some of the athletes, I think Jordan Travis has a management team that's working with him on his NIL deals. So you can email me at ira@warchant.com.
Don't email me.
Yeah, Peter Collins cannot be involved.
Yeah. It's almost like Ira didn't pay attention to the video that you and I did on the legislation and the loopholes that need to be closed here in the Florida State legislature. So, how about this one, though? I'll bet this one will work. What's the minimum number a non-FSU grad like Tom Mortner here can give to Seminole boosters? He's a huge fan of all FSU sports and loves the school. But he wants to contribute. And like you said, the lifeblood are sometimes the small donors, Peter. Is it just simply go Google Seminole Boosters and then go to the Boosters website, or how does one get involved if they're brand new to it and you've inspired them to donate tonight?
Tom, you can give $1. You can give 50 cents. You can give a quarter. You can give a nickel.
They'll take it.
They'll take it. There's no minimum except zero. So I appreciate the question. I understand where the question comes from, and I don't mean to minimize the question, but literally you can give $1. It matters. It all adds up. And
there are booster levels that give different things. Like if you give,
I think the minimum booster level is like $70, but you can still give $1.
Exactly.
I mean, give $1 to the coaches club.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. Exactly. Well, those are the two informational things that we had for you, Peter, and I'm glad that one of them is in bounds at this particular time in the history of laws in the state of Florida. But it has been a privilege to talk to you tonight, and I hope we get to do this again soon and check in as Florida State, the athletics department, the board of trustees, everybody progresses a little bit down the line here a couple quarters from now, if that's all right with you. But it's been an honor to talk to you, sir.
Well, we'll do it after next football season when we win at least 8 or 9 games. How about that?
No pressure, Mike Norvell.
No pressure, Mike Norvell.
Thanks again. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Thanks.
That was Peter Collins. He's the chairman of the board with Florida State. Ira, that was pretty cool. And for behind the scenes stuff, Ira made that all happen. What was that process like in securing the interview, sir?
Just I got to, as he said, I got to talk to him at the introduction ceremony. I've been aware of him and familiar with him from his years and different involvement in the university and but we interviewed him at the Michael Alford's introduction ceremony. And so we talked then, and one of the things he conveyed was that, he wants the fans to understand how committed they are, and that this isn't just talk, that they are putting money behind what their words. And so whether that's increasing the support staff, whether it's getting this football facility built, and he is adamant that it's going to be built sooner than later. They won't give you a time frame. They won't give us a time frame. My guess is maybe after this season. They can't do it during a season because the team has to practice. Maybe it's quicker than that, but my guess would be after the season. But he just kind of wanted to convey that to the fans, and so we started talking about maybe doing something like this, and it's a little bit different, and I appreciate you kind of moderating and getting the questions ready and all that. But yeah, I think it was informative, and I also do think it was just important for people to hear that the people running the university and running the athletics department, they're people, and they have the same values, and they want the same things that the fans do. And hopefully he shared some of the information.
And what was interesting is on the way out, kind of an answer to Get Down or Lay Down's question, if you could achieve one goal next year, sounds like 8 or 9 wins for the football program is maybe among those goals. But Ira,
do you want to pull up the somebody? I think Gene must have put in the link for the risingspear.com.
There it is.
For people that did want to give, because it's tricky. And I'll just explain this real quick. We had an NIL deal with Devontae Love Taylor this season, and he did a video with our members. You could watch on Warchant TV. A lot of people that are seeing this probably saw that. Once a week, Devontae Love Taylor would answer fans' questions and just interact with the fans. It wasn't really for us. We reached the deal. We provided the money, and then he could interact with fans, and it was really cool that he was doing that. But when we first started talking about it, we actually went to the university and said, okay, how do we do this? And they're like, well, in the state of Florida, there's nothing we can do. You need to figure it out. You need to go to the athletes. And that's the challenge right now, is in some other states that didn't have NIL laws, they're able to they can actually broker the deals, and Florida State cannot do that. So that's what the legislature, and Peter talked about that. There is a bill, there are a couple of bills that are trying to address that. We'll see if that happens. But right now you can't go directly to the school or Mike Norvell and say, hey, I want to give a player money. You have to actually go to the player or their representative or a group like Rising Spear.
And that's the link. And if you're on the Warchant podcast feed, because this will be out there tomorrow, risingspear.com. So we don't have a visual medium for the pods, but it's risingspear.com. So Ira, that was a lot of fun. And remember, everybody, things like this are possible because you hit the like button underneath this video, the subscribe button. Every little bit helps, as Peter Collins was talking about. Every little bit helps because it increases our ability to make a call, and for entities like the Board of Trustees to say, you know what, it's worth our time to join places like Warchant TV. So Ira, I think you've already offered most of your final thoughts, but if you've got anything else that you'd like to say, final word to you before we sign off tonight.
Just that I would, this isn't me. I'm not kissing up to Peter Collins. It doesn't matter to me whether or not he likes me or likes us. I have sensed the difference, and I was the first question I asked him, or maybe second question. I have noticed that I've been covering Florida State for a long time. You have as well. Having a president and a athletic director and a board of trustees chair and a football coach, all with an aligned vision and a shared vision, is really important. And it eliminates some of the deciding who I want to do this or you want to do that. What's important to you? What's important to me? They do all seem to have a unified vision. I can sense that, and I've seen it, and I think it's in practice. And now, again, I can't tell you how many wins that's going to result in this season, but I think from an overall athletics department standpoint, I do feel like they're heading in the same direction, which, even if it's not perfectly what you want it to be, they're all heading in the right direction. I think that's important.
For the managing editor of Warchant.com, he's Ira Schafel. My name is Tom Lang. I'm the director of original content at Warchant.com and Warchant TV. Stay tuned to this channel. Subscribe to us. We'll have a lot of great stuff coming for you this upcoming weekend on Warchant TV and in the weeks to come in preparation for spring football. Until next time, we're signing off from Warchant TV.